Hi, I'm Josh from the University of Laverne's Small Business Development Center, and here at the SBDC, we help small business owners with free one-on-one consulting and expert interviews just like this one. So operating a business is difficult territory for many business owners in this day and age. My guest today will help you navigate the more treacherous territory, business law. My guest today is Robert Barrett, a lawyer and professor of business law and cyber law for business students here at the College of Business and Public Management. He is also a law professor at the University of Laverne College of Law. Professor Barrett will help you understand contracts, working with lawyers, along with all the pitfalls and perils of the modern legal environment of business. So tell me, what is a contract?
Let me start by assuming for the moment, we'll start with a new business person who's not sophisticated. And I'll go from the very basics, although this is, contracts in law school is a full year course, 2 semesters, the basic contracts course, contracts 1 and contracts 2. It's a whole year. And business people don't need to know what the lawyers know. And after a full year of contracts as a law student, you still don't really know anything. Of course, like anything about school, you got to get out there in the world. And the first contract you look at, you go like, "Oh, we didn't talk about any of this." So what I want to talk about are the kinds of real fundamentals that business people would want to know just starting out. Give me the short version, Barrett. And that is what I do with undergrads. And we condense the entire year-long contract course to 2 class meetings at most, really 1 class meeting, and the other 3 hours is spent on homework and testing. And you can do that because for business people, the first thing that most people don't seem to understand when lay people, and I'll pretty much limit my discussion to America, because we got 195 countries. Everybody does it differently, but America is more and more becoming the standard. People think, oh, contract, we're gonna have a piece of paper, and the first thing I tell my undergrads is no, that's not a contract. That is, how shall I put it? That is a piece of paper. That is not a contract. A contract is much more abstract, and it's much easier to create a contract than people think. You tell me you want to sell me your car for $5,000, and I say, okay, we have a deal. And you can take me to court on just that. You made the offer. I said, okay, you gave me the number. We know what car we're talking about. We have a contract. And if I back out, you can take me to court. People, when they go to court, they think, well, what sort of evidence are we talking about? Where's the contract? No, your testimony, I swear under oath that I made Barrett an offer to sell that car for $5,000. And he said yes. Your testimony is evidence under oath. It's all you need to win this case. If it's a judge making a decision, or a jury, if they're going to make the decision, you get the car. I get my turn. And what's my testimony? No, I didn't. And then I sit down. That's it. That's the evidence. It's under oath. It's up to the trier of fact to decide who they believe. And if they believe you, you get the money, I get the car. If I don't want to pay, you can sue me for non-payment. If they believe me, I go home, you still have a car and no $5,000. Now, there are appeals if the trial judge did something wrong, and the system can be very complicated. There's a first level of appeal and a second level of appeal. In most states, there's a third level appeal, and then the US Supreme Court, and I say I'm already out of the frame, right? And the cases can go back and forth, and there are different court systems, and that's what we spend a year doing in law school. But the first thing students learn is if you open your mouth, you are negotiating a deal. Contracts are just agreements. Some of them have to be in writing. very few. You can buy an oil company with no writing. And there was a famous case where Texaco and Getty Oil got into a squabble, and Texaco said, we never made that deal. And the executives from the other oil company, Getty, said, yes, you did. It went to court, and Getty won a $10.5 billion judgment based on oral testimony. Didn't need a piece of paper for the particular way that oil company was going to change hands. And law students were thinking, well, I got to think about who I've been talking to lately. And business people get into trouble when they don't understand these very fundamental concepts. A contract is an agreement, and there are all sorts of different ways it gets reduced to some tangible form so that people don't have to remember, and it's not just oral. You send me a text, I send you a text back. That's slightly better, isn't it, than the verbal? Because now we got something tangible. Your text is a picture of a car, a $, and then a 5 and a K and a question mark. You got that text in your mind? It's a car emoji, 5K, question mark. I send you back thumbs up. Contract, bro. And this is why it's kind of fun for me to teach the course, and why it's enlightening for undergrads. It's young people. This is the first time they've heard this kind of time they've heard this kind of stuff. It's only taught in the legal environment class. And there's lots of sophisticated business courses and everything out there. But if you are a new businessman, I don't care how smart you are, I am sure that the two people that started Google, Serge Brin, and I forget the other guy's name, somebody had to sit down and explain this to them, how it worked, because they were brilliant, PhD students who knew AI and all that stuff. But they didn't know about this.
What things should small business owners know about contracts?
Before a business person does anything, if they've learned now, well, anytime I talk to somebody, I could be in the process of forming a contract. That's going to change their orientation to what they do. If they already know it, that's fine. If they don't, that's a big help, because people can find themselves saying, well, I didn't mean to obligate our little business, and somebody else is going to tell them, well, you did. You need to know how this works. You have to understand the basic concepts of contract formation, which is an offer, an acceptance, and defined terms, and an agreement. And always in the back of your mind is, how do I prove this in court if the other side backs out or tries to screw me over? So for business people, they always need to be thinking, having a little, the old Disney character, Jiminy Cricket, that little thing that would sit on your shoulder and kind of be your conscience and guide you. Have a kind of a super ego little Barrett sitting on your shoulder, or whatever idea you have about a lawyer, saying, all right, now what should I be thinking about here? What am I not seeing? So people need to think whenever they get involved in these sorts of deals. That's step one. The second thing for small business owners, and in my mind, I'm talking about maybe starting with people who are unsophisticated, who may have good ideas, but aren't sure about what they're doing. And in very short order, we'll get to more sophisticated stuff. The second level is always, depending on how much is at stake, do I need to ask a lawyer about this? What's the expression I see all the time now on the internet? DIY. Do it yourself, right? I know what happens when I DIY my car. It'll cost me a lot of money when I get it to the mechanic, who goes, well, now not only do I have to fix what was wrong with it originally, I have to fix all the things you did to make it harder in what you broke. And the legal environment's becoming increasingly complex. I don't like to go to the dentist every 6 months, because they clean my teeth and they say, all right, everything's okay. And I think, well, why did I have to pay for this? When I was young, I learned my lesson when I was younger. I didn't go for 3 years. And then came the root canal. and the fillings. And my dentist said, I'm going to send my whole family back to the old country on your dime because you didn't come for your 6 visits when I could have fixed these when they were small. And now they're big. So my second basic principle, think about whether you need to talk to a lawyer or somebody like that. And when I mean somebody like that, I mean somebody like you who might be able to direct them to resources in their community, the Small Business Association. There are help groups, and there are also resources for people who want to talk to a lawyer who may not have a lot of money. And now that we have the internet, it's a lot simpler. You get on there and you start searching for sources that can help you if you have a particular, do I need a lawyer for this? Put that in Google and ask the question and see what you get. Partly it's my orientation. You know what they say, if you're a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. And all I see, because I'm a lawyer, the people who come to me are people who usually people who have problems. So it skews my view of the world. If a person can afford to start out by getting some kind of legal help, and lawyers are expensive, I have a feeling, and I think the SBA is one of these kinds of places, or folks like yourself, where they can talk to other people and find out about the basics. Before anyone goes anywhere, it should always be in the back of their mind, is this the kind of thing where I'm not sure what's going on? Do I need to get help? And a lot of times it can just be a more experienced business person. Maybe that's really the first step before you actually think about a lawyer, is talk to other business people.
What things should small business owners understand before they speak to a lawyer about a contract for their business?
Well, you are asking the right questions. And that's 9/10 of the battle, not half. 9/10 is asking the right questions. Because in my mind, when we started talking about business people, and I'm just now becoming aware of it, I was thinking about a person like me who has an idea, and they may have a product or a service, and they think, people are willing to pay for this. I'll be a dog walker, or a dog groomer, or a house sitter, or a personal shopper. These are all things that individuals do by themselves to start a business. And one of the first things, I guess this would be then my third basic principle, because again, I think folks tend to jump ahead. Before you start looking at contracts and making contracts and thinking about whether you need a lawyer, I guess it would be maybe step 0. A person has to think about what kind of business form they're going to operate in. This is a very foreign concept to most lay people. And I think about my undergraduates. What are you talking about, Barrett? And there's a whole semester in law school called business organizations. For the undergrads, we do it in one class. And what they see, which is a bit of an eye-opener, is that if you are, there was a song, I think the chorus was "Me, Myself, and I," years ago, old rap song. If you are alone by yourself operating a business, to a business lawyer like me, that may be your best choice because it's the simplest way to do business. You don't have any other people that you're responsible for or who are responsible to you. Your income is very easy to deal with for tax purposes because Uncle Sam and his little cousin, the Franchise Tax Board, and maybe your town, because a lot of cities have their own tax. Second thing that a lawyer will talk to a business person about, one is going to be the form you're in, and second is taxation. And I'm not going to talk about it now because it's complicated. It can be complicated, but a business person, in thinking about what they are going to do, if they're going to be by themselves as a sole proprietor, They have to understand that while it's simple and it may work, a lot of people are sole proprietors. If things go wrong, and what you pay a lawyer for is to anticipate what happens if things go wrong, if the contract gets breached, if you made a mistake, if the other side doesn't pay, or if you don't get paid, or if you don't pay your taxes, or other things. If something goes wrong in your business as a sole proprietor, all of your personal assets are exposed to judgments. Your house, your car, your bank account, your savings, your IRAs, everything you own is part of your business. And a lot of times business people go, what are you talking about? I don't want to do that. I want to have a computer business, and I only want to have the bank account of the computer business exposed to my creditors. Well, then we need to talk to reduce the business organization's course down to, let's see if I can do it in 60 seconds. There are sole proprietorships. There are general partnerships. What I can tell you, if you and I, Josh, want to have, and I don't know, I go by Rob instead of Robert, so I assume people go by a diminutive, but that may not be true. If we want to have a business partnership, you and me, we might as well go down to our local church or synagogue or mosque or the justice of the peace, because we are getting married. And what I tell my business students is, if you didn't think your general partner was your spouse, you need to think again. It is, the parallels are both encouraging a good marriage. It's sanctified, right? In every religion. A bad marriage, it's the worst thing that can happen to you, in my opinion. One of the worst things. There's cancer, and there's bad marriages. And again, my view of the world kind of skewed. So that's the second thing people need to think about. If you're going to be in a partnership with somebody else, we need to talk about what that means to your personal assets and to their responsibilities. You have a spouse, they come home with a new car, you say, I didn't tell you could buy that monster truck. Well, guess what? Go tell the dealer, because in a community property state, that truck's yours too. The obligation to pay it and so forth. So all of a sudden people are waking up. Whoa, you mean that clown in the cubicle next to me? Me and him are married? I didn't know that. Well, now you know. Individual sole proprietorship, partnerships, 2 or more people, because you could have a menage a trois in a business partnership. And law partnerships sometimes have thousands of people in them. And there are different kinds of marriages. You got open marriages. You got the limited liability type partnership. Suppose you don't want your personal bank account exposed and your house and your car. Then the next thing you're going to want to do before you ever open up shop, even a sole proprietor can form an entity like a limited liability, an LLC or a corporation. And all of a sudden, if they do it right, it's only the bank account of the computer repair shop that's exposed and not your personal bank account. And we go on from there in business organizations. Before a business person does anything else, they need to talk to someone knowledgeable. In my world, you have Rocket Lawyer and LegalZoom and that kind of stuff. DIY, I think it's risky. And I have people who come to me and say, well, I did it myself on Rocket Lawyer, and now I've got a mess. And I go, well, this is how I make my money. I help clean up messes, just like my dentist. So business people are going to want to find out what business form suits them best. And often that means talking to a lawyer. In America, most small businesses can be sole proprietorships. And you never get to these other complicated things because you really don't expect that your personal assets are going to be at risk. But for a lot of people, even a sole proprietor can form a corporation, and suddenly everything, if it's done properly, the debts of that business, only the corporation's bank account and its assets are liable. Now, what does that mean? That means that me as a creditor, I have to decide, do I want to do business with Rob Barrett's Computer Repair Shop, Inc., and only look to that asset base, that bank account? Because if I'm a sophisticated creditor, I'll say, like my daughter's landlord said to me, when she was in college and wanted to lease an apartment with her friend. Sure, Pops, your daughter can sign. She's 18. However, I'm going to need a co-signer because she doesn't have any money. That rent doesn't get paid. Dad, you're on the hook. So a lot of times business people will say to a sole proprietor who has a corporation, oh, sure, I'm happy to look to Barrett Inc. But I want Barrett in his personal capacity to co-sign any obligations. And you can mix and match in the corporate forms. They don't get a whole lot more complicated because my sole proprietorship Barrett Inc. is not a whole lot different than Alphabet Inc., which is the parent company that owns Google. The concepts are the same.
And how would a business owner find or vet a lawyer to work with if they need one?
The vast majority of Americans cannot find a lawyer. It is a national scandal and it's getting worse. And the reason it's getting worse is something that the last 4 presidents have talked about. Republican, or although some of them, if they're on a certain side of the argument, they don't care. And that is the unequal distribution of wealth in America as a result of the fact that capitalism is not working the way it used to. That's why you see in the media, they talk about the 1%ers. President Trump and President Biden would cry if they got a look. Go Google Tom Brady's jet or Jeff Bezos's jet. Take a look at those jets. They make Air Force One look like a dump truck. I mean, they have billions of dollars. The President of the United States makes $400,000 a year and gets to ride around a crappy old plane. And you are a business person and you talk to a lawyer now, and the first thing out of their mouth is, if they're a brand new baby junior lawyer out in Laverne, it's going to be $150, $200, $250, $300 an hour. Who gets that kind of money? I've had to hire lawyers once or twice. It was devastating. I certainly can't afford myself. Been a lawyer for 40 years now. I only hire out to people that can. Now, I work for free a lot of time because somebody needs the help. It's a worthy cause, and I do it for free. It's called pro bono work. A lot of lawyers do that, just like everybody does charity work. Go down and help feed poor people for the LA Mission or the San Bernardino Mission. But in between middle-class people, affording a lawyer is impossible. So what I was talking about was going on the internet to something like, the initials are LRIS, Lawyer Referral Information Service. And it's a generic term for organizations that have been vetted by either their local bar or the state bar, and they try to connect people with lawyers. Usually, people do it when they have a specific situation and they're willing to invest at least $50 to see if some lawyer is willing to talk to them. They write up a form, and San Fernando Valley has one, the State Bar of California has one, LA County, San Bernardino County, they all have these LRIS organizations. The form is sent in to a panel of lawyers, and they all look at the problem that the person has. And somebody will contact that person and say, look, I looked at what you submitted, and I think I can help you. I'll give you an initial consultation for free, and then I'll tell you what I would charge and what I think it might cost for you to get a legal opinion on this situation. And it can be from small to large. But in terms of just going out in the environment and Googling and picking somebody on the internet, that's pure guesswork. The only way I know to find a lawyer that at least somebody else has looked at, because the LRIS organization gets paid with a percentage of that lawyer's fee if they actually make a deal with the person who needs help. And of course, to get onto one of these LRIS panels like I did, I had to send them a resume and some pleadings and my credentials. And they said, all right, Barrett, we're going to refer these kind of people to you because that's in your wheelhouse. We're not going to send you environmental problems because you don't know about that, but we will send you small business contract problems because you teach business law and you work with small businesses. So that's really the only way that I know of. It's horrible, I admit, to vet and find a lawyer is to contact an LRIS in your area and see what they will ask from you and what they'll do for you. I think they all charge something to submit your initial inquiry form. And they tell you what they want you to fill out. And then they're going to circulate it to the lawyers in their group. The actual contractual stuff is really just a matter of being cautious, knowing carefully, knowing what you want to accomplish, and making sure, because most contracts, even though it's not required, are reduced to some tangible form like a writing. And then that's kind of technical. You have to, if somebody else helped your counterpart on the other side of the deal write the contract, if you're not I don't look over my plumber's shoulder when they're working on the pipes in my house. It's just not going to do me any good. I tell entrepreneurs that they are building and going to live in the mansions of capitalism. Lawyers are the plumbers. It's an honorable profession. And if you've ever needed plumbing work done in your house, you know you are going to pay. Because A, it's hard, B, it's dirty, and C, it's complex. That just like my job. I charge a lot of money for my work because if I do it wrong and those pipes break, my company's liable. That house gets flooded, guess who gets sued? Me, the plumber. So if you got a contract and you don't know what you're looking at and you're a business person and it looks like it was written by a lawyer, you might have to bite the bullet and get somebody who knows what they're doing to look at. A lot of this is money driven. How much is at stake? How much is at risk? It is risky for business people to review their own contracts if there's a significant amount of money at stake. And every time I go to the dentist or I pay my car mechanic or my plumber and I squeal like a pig, my accountant charges me an arm and a leg and he says, "You don't like it, Barrett? Here, do your own taxes." Then I apologize and I pay his bill.
I want to thank Professor Barrett for his insight in the legal environment for your business. If you need help finding a lawyer, you can check out the video above or use the local Chamber of Commerce as a resource. You can also follow Professor Barrett on LinkedIn using the link below. If you found this video helpful, leave us a like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to hit that notification bell to get updates on all of our newest videos when they get released. If you want to see more expert interviews about managing your business, check out this playlist here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.